Hey there, it's Kat and this is BrewsandReviews. Today's video is going to be a wrap-up of all the books that I read in July, and you know what? July was a really great month for me. In terms of quantity, because I happen to have read the most number of books that I have read in a month for this entire year, I kind of almost doubled the normal amount that I read. So normally I read about 12 books and I read 23 in July. How did that happen? Who knows? And why am I not more happy about it? Well, I didn't say they were good books, because most of them weren't. I mean, you'll see. You'll see. So let's get into it, shall we? The first book that I read this month was Radio Silence by Alice Oseman. And I didn't really know what this book was about before I went into it, so I kind of just put the audiobook on and listened to it, and I really liked it. It's about a group of teenagers who work on a podcast together and have various things going on in their life. Most notably, they are all about to go to university and they have different feelings about that. And it's really interesting, and if you like things that revolve around fandoms, like Liza and Her Monsters and things like that, really great. It's a bit more depressing than I thought it was going to be. There's some more sadness than I thought there was going to be. This book definitely has a lot of trigger warnings in it, depression, abusive parents, and animal abuse, so just be aware of that before you go into it. It is a really good book, but it is kind of depressing. I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars. Next up I read World War Z by Max Brooks. So this is a sort of fictionalized history of the zombie apocalypse. I'm sure a lot of you know what this book is about. They made a film out of it, but the film is nothing like the book. The book is just like a series of short stories told from completely different perspectives around the world, and about how different people in different cultures faced this zombie apocalypse. And I actually found it really interesting. I really liked a lot of the perspectives. There were some that are very much more memorable than others, and some that I have probably completely forgotten. But I ended up really enjoying it. And I was kind of fascinated with how different people reacted to zombie infestations, I guess, and how different countries decided to treat them, like go to war with them or things like that. It was really interesting, and I would definitely recommend it if you like the zombie books. I mean, it's kind of a zombie book, but it's kind of not. It's very much a step back from, oh, bash, zombie bash. It's not really that. But it was a good book anyway. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. The next 3 books that I read were part of the same series, and it is a series that BookTube knows very, very well. It's the Selection series by Kira Cass. So I read The Selection, The Elite, and The One pretty much in a row. I think I just really wanted guilty pleasure this month, and I read the Selection series finally for the first time. So I gave them all 3 stars, and it's like trash, but I am a sucker for reality TV. And The Selection is essentially The Bachelor set in a dystopian world, but I'm kind of there for the trash. I am. I've never watched The Bachelor, side note, but I do love trash reality TV, and that's what it was. I did find a lot of the characters very annoying, and I did just want to like smack some sense into some of them, because like, what are you doing? I'm not a fan of love triangles, but I knew there was going to be one as I was going into it, but it just didn't really make any sense to me in this sense. Also, the main love interest guy really annoyed me, because he just was like hot, cold, hot, cold. I was like, make up your fucking mind, you lunatic. Do you like a girl? Do you not like a girl? Just fucking say. This is why I couldn't go on a dating show, because I'm just like, just say what you mean. Anyway, those are my thoughts on the Selection series. Lacking in substance, but really great for just filling the time. And you know, just like mind fuzz. That's what that series is. So let's talk about the first physical book that I read this month, and that was Liar Liar by Lisa Jackson. I don't really remember that much about this book, aside from the fact that it was very boring. Essentially, this is a thriller about it's set in 2 timelines, and a woman who is a Marilyn Monroe impersonator goes to sell one of her babies, she had twins, to the dad of the twins, and then somebody gets killed in a fiery explosion of a car, and then the mum goes missing. And then you also follow her daughter 20 years later, after a book has been published about this woman's life. It's just really boring. It didn't make much sense. I found that there was a lot of going over the same point over and over again. It was almost like we were trying to fill space in the middle. And then, the last 50 pages, like, everything happened, and there were like 6 different people involved, and I'm like, who are you? Where did you come from? Have I seen you before, or am I just, like, what? I was very confused. And then, like, instant decisions and insta-love happened at the end, and I was like, no, thank you. I don't think. So, I ended up giving this one 2 out of 5 stars. Not even sure why I gave it 2 out of 5 stars, because it was lame. Then next up I read The Stalker by Alex Gray. So the premise of this book is that there's a stalker slash murderer guy in Scotland who goes around killing women that look the same. Very original. And you follow the detective as he does some very shoddy police work. Very, very shoddy. And you follow his wife, who is a debut children's author, and she's going on a book tour. And she just so happens to look like the murdered women. Can you guess where the story might be going? The police work was really, really shit. And a lot of the people in the police station were like, wow, the detective's wife looks really like these murdered women. We should just let her travel around Scotland unprotected, even though her husband is high profile on this case. The stalker won't notice her. No, they won't. No. Anyway, it was dumb. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Because if you'd, like, chopped out some of the dumb, then it was a passable story, even if it was very predictable. I didn't actually guess who the person was, because there were a few suspects, but, oh god, there were just so many dumb people in this book, it really annoyed me. And now, we come to my shame. Yeah, we'll call it shame. So, you know how I said that I was in the mood to read trash? Well, I decided to pick up the Ice Planet Barbarian series again, and I read many of them. Right, so let's go through it. I read them all on ebook, because Kindle Unlimited is a great thing. I'm just gonna read them out because they all have very similar names, and I can't be fucked to learn which barbarian did this with that one. So I'll just read them. First I read Barbarian Alien, then Barbarian Lover, then Barbarian Mine, Ice Planet Holiday, Barbarian's Prize, Barbarian's Mate, Barbarian's Touch, Having the Barbarian's Baby, Ice Planet Honeymoon, Bechtel and Georgie, Ice Planet Honeymoon, Rahush and Liz, Ice Planet Honeymoon, Ayako and Kira, Ice Planet Honeymoon, Rook and Harlow, Ice Babies, and Calm. I think I just lost my mind reading that list. I think I lost my mind while I was reading those books. Now bear in mind that a lot of them are novellas. A lot of them are 100 to 200 pages, and then a lot of the end ones that I read there, about 50 to 60 page novellas. So I didn't go totally crazy, although I did. Let's be real, I did. I went a bit overboard. It's like crack, a little bit. Once you start, you're in that hole, and that is where you're going to stay for a little bit. So I had to read a real book to get me out of that nonsense. We'll talk about that in a minute. Surprisingly, I gave a few of those 4 out of 5 stars. Who knows why? So I gave Barbarian Alien, Barbarian Lover... Nope, just those 2. More. I gave them 4 stars. I gave most of them 3 stars. I gave Calm, Ice Planet Honeymoon, Ayako and Kira, and Ice Planet Honeymoon, Bechtel and Georgie 2 stars. And I gave Having the Barbarian's Baby 1 star because it was boring as fuck and Megan's a whiny bitch. To be honest, most of the ones that I gave below 3 stars were mostly because it was whining about pregnancy and I just don't give a fuck. Lovely. If you're having a baby, lovely. Just the way that they have the same conversations over and over again, and yes, maybe this is my own fault for reading these books so many in a row, and just that, so many hormones in the book. I needed a break. Anyway, that was an experience. I'm probably going to keep reading this Ice Planet Barbarian series this month. Maybe. Probably. So remember when I said I needed to read a real book to come back to my senses. I read A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Bridget Kemmerer. This one's a reread for me, and I reread it because in August I'm going to be buddy reading the sequels with Mel from A Book Fiend named Mel, and I'm very, very excited for that. Even more so excited after having read this one, because I just love it. It's just really good. I definitely saw some new things this time, and I wonder if it's because I listened to it while I was reading it, and it's the first time I picked up the audiobook. Now I will say, if you're going to listen to this audiobook, like I did on 3.5 speed, when you get to the monster chapters, be prepared to feel quite uncomfortable, because the monster noises are fucking scary. I was just sat there and I was like, holy fucking what? Excuse me? With your snake man noises? No. No. So just an FYI, that was fun. It's a great book, and I'm sure most of you know what this is. It's a modern Beauty and the Beast retelling with a main character with cerebral palsy, and it was fun. I enjoyed it a lot. Now we're on to the last book I read in July, and that was My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. I ended up giving this one 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed this book. I thought it was really interesting. I love like the 80s references. I think one of the problems that I had with this book though was that at the beginning and throughout really, it was very Mean Girls, and I don't really like reading about assholey teenagers sometimes, because why do they exist? Anyway, once it got into the part where possession happened, it got really good. And I actually found myself questioning at one point whether this girl actually was possessed, and I was like, that's a nice touch. Because also, creepy things. There were some really creepy things. I don't want to spoil what happens, so I'm not actually going to say what it is, but if you've read this book, Margaret, that's all I want to say. That is terrifying to me, and it is one of my worst fears, because those things are like, I just feel really ill thinking about them, so that's that. Also, obviously bad things happen in this book, exorcisms and stuff like that. There is animal death in this book, which made me a very sad human being. But that is a thing that happens in horror. Like, if you're a horror movie watcher, animals die a lot, and it always makes me really mad. So yeah, just FYI, there's some animal death in this. But I do think it was really good, and it gave me 80s horror film vibes that I really enjoyed, and I would definitely recommend this if you like horror. I did finish the book feeling like I had had an exorcism performed upon me though, and I had to sit and think for a while because it made me feel some sort of way. So I think that's a good thing when it comes to horror. But maybe you might not. I don't know. 4 out of 5 stars. That's what I gave it. So those are all the books that I read throughout July. Some of them I enjoyed a lot, and some of them just filled up that nice trash hole in my brain. So I'm really curious. Have you fallen down the Ice Planet Barbarian's hole like I have? Have you succumbed to this travesty of... I want to say literature. I don't want to say literature. Have you succumbed? Either way, let me know in a comment. If you've made it this far into the video and you don't have anything else to say, please leave me a bell emoji. This could be a bell emoji, right? Ring the bell of shame. I'm asking you to ring the bell of my shame for me by leaving a bell in the comments. Yeah. And if you like this video, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.